I'm focused on this theory cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, this is Christina Barton. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about how MAGA is really upset with Kyle Rittenhouse, because Kyle Rittenhouse said that he's going to write in Ron Paul for president. So folks feel betrayed, and I want to talk about it because I always thought it was strange how people were I was glad that so many people rallied behind Kyle Rittenhouse during his trial and his arrest, because what happened to him on the world stage with cameras and evidence, and the fact that he was like razor's edge, it seemed like perhaps was going to be found guilty. It really would have had terrible repercussions, I think. So I was so glad that he got off, and then he just kind of skyrocketed to, well, he's already famous, but he just kind of became this person who go on these talk shows and other stuff like that. And I just thought he was a young kid, he was immature, and he would say some things that I'm like, why are you uplifting certain things that he's saying? He needs to calm down, mature, not brag about being some kind of sexual object now. Like, he made all kinds of different comments. And so now he's like an advocate for I think a gun like lobbyist sort of group. And so the Second Amendment, 2A, is their number one issue, and they don't feel that Trump is strong enough for it. So he made some comments, and people are mad about it, really mad about it. And again, we'll share our thoughts about that. Also, Scott Adams had an interesting tweet about Donald Trump and his tactic with Kamala Harris and focusing on her heritage. Now, I've made the case that I think there's so many different things that you should focus on, and you don't want the media attention to be on that thing. But I don't know, Scott Adams had a theory, and I don't want to encourage bad behavior or whatever, but I just think it's an interesting theory that I want to talk about with you guys. Anyway, before we talk about all this stuff, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, because it does cost to stream and run my website, all that stuff you guys can't support. I do really appreciate it. You guys can also check out different merchandise that's available at the store. If you're wondering why my hair keeps occasionally floating around, it's because I do have a fan blowing on me, because it is quite hot. So it's the summer. My air has been funny. So I got this air blowing. But anyway, you can check out different merch on the website. I got some cool stuff there. Also, I want to say thank you to everyone who, took the time to listen to my testimony that I gave yesterday as the show started. And I saw this morning, because I know not everybody who follows me watches me live for whatever reason, but some of you guys don't get notifications. But I wrote a post about, to summarize really quickly, I had an issue and I needed to replace all my tires, and it was just one thing after another, and I was really frustrated, and I was kind of down. I wasn't kind of down, I was down about it, and I just was like, God, I need you to move some kind of way, that this is getting kind of a lot. And so, long story short, my dad felt impressed of the Lord to go to a particular shop, and he started witnessing to this guy who ended up being a Christian, and he witnessed to him. And I didn't have this information when I talked to you guys yesterday, but the story he told him was when some years ago, my dad, he was dying of congestive heart failure, and that was impacting all of his other organs and stuff. So he's in the hospital, and the doctors are like, "How do you feel?" He's like, "It feels like I'm dying." And they're like, "You are dying." And so they gave him all this bad news, and my dad just started smiling. He's like, "Okay, well, you guys have at most a week, because I'm going to Mexico to preach for like a month." And then the doctors, and there was a team of doctors, it's not good when a team of doctors comes in, and you're like, "That is insane." There was like no bedside manner. They kind of, I guess, just want to lecture him and tell him off a bit. And he's like, "I went to U of M pre-med. Like, I'm not stupid, but this is what I have to do." So long story short, God touched his body, and he ended up going to Mexico, and he was alone. He was there for a month, and he was climbing mountains, and and he's a big dude, but he's climbing mountains and preaching all over the place, and had a really great revival and stuff. So it's one of his favorite stories that he will tell any chance that he can get. He tells that testimony a lot, and has told it, around the world, to many places, many churches, many random people that he will see. And so he told it to the guy at the shop, and he was blessed. And so he offered to pay for all of the tires. And so when my dad told me, I was just so blessed and comforted, really comforted. And not that I had unbelief, but I did have it was just, I guess, anxiety about just a lot of things. So it just, reassured that I should have a peace that passeth all understanding on different stuff going on. So anyway, I shared that yesterday, and I also shared it today on social media, on my personal page, and on YouTube community stuff. And so a lot of people really responded and thanked me for sharing the story. And it's good. It's really good to have testimonies. And I know, like, actually, there was a cousin of mine actually had a testimony where, last minute money came in for something that he needed. And it was really, really, it was a blessing, but it didn't hit the way that it should have hit me and encouraged me. So I thank God for, moving personally in my life on something that I needed to stir me. So I hopefully, other people are stirred and encouraged, and that's what some people were saying. So I know times are tough, but my faith and hope is in the Lord, and hopefully yours is too. Hopefully yours is too. I know people watch from all over and have different faiths who may tune in, but at the very least, know that I'm happy today. So anyway, let's hop to the news. So I logged on today and saw so many people upset about Kyle Rittenhouse. Oh gosh, is he? I'm seeing a new text that just came out. Let me go to his page, because he was saying that he wasn't going to support Trump, and then apparently he just said that he is. He's breaking news. Oh yeah, he just backpedaled. He just backpedaled. Okay. 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 We find out some stuff together, y'all. He just back, and he's got it pinned. Okay. So he just said, over the past 12 hours, I've had a series of productive conversations with members of the Trump team, and I am confident he will be the strong ally gun owners need to defend our Second Amendment rights. My comments made last night were ill-informed and unproductive. I'm 100% behind Donald Trump and encourage every gun owner to join me in helping send him back to the White House. Wow. Wow. I wonder what productive conversations he's had. Because I wonder if he still has the stuff up. I had all the stuff that was going to go through his feed. Maybe he got rid of it. Let's see. Let's um Okay. Okay. So he had retweeted this from Dudley Brown, leader of national guns rights, and said that Trump banned bump stock, signed fixed NICs to expand prohibited persons, faulty database, supported red flag gun confiscation, supported raising minimum age to purchase firearms, told British TV he was going to seriously look at banning suppressors and ignored legislation to deregulate suppressors, supports TAPS Act, Big Brother social media monitoring of firearm statements, supported expanding background checks registration with Toomey Mansion, quipped about wanting to terminate parts of the Constitution, told Senator Feinstein to include assault weapons ban in school safety bill. So that's what he retweeted. Now I remember things. The bump stock ban was knocked down by the Supreme Court. So I mean, thank God for conservative court. Can strike down things that politicians do and say that's not good. He did say that he supported red flag laws. That's true. There was a video, I've shown it before, but they were, I think it was after, maybe it was some kind after mass shooting or tragedy, but Mike Pence was talking about it, but he's like, we need to have due process. And Trump was like, I think we should take the guns and then due process. And that caused a stir, but it's on video. The raising of the ages and all that kind of other stuff. These are things that he did talk about or voice support of. So I think, from my recollection, I think all this is probably accurate. I mean, the terminate the Constitution thing is taken out of context, but I mean, he did say that, but it's not how people try to make it seem. But we talked about that at the time when he tweeted that, and I didn't know a great way to read it. I tried to be as charitable as possible, but with how they're using it is inaccurate. But I would say so. He tweeted out that, and he had said no compromise means no compromise, because people were just tweeting at him and angry, just really angry at him. And he said you must stand by your principles. And so here's a video he made. And he didn't even post it on his page, but Dudley Brown had posted it and he's about the election.
Hi, I'm Kyle Rittenhouse, Outreach Director for Texas Gun Rights. A lot of people are upset that I said I'm going to be writing in Ron Paul for President of the United States. And that is true. I will be writing in Ron Paul. Unfortunately, Donald Trump had bad advisors making him bad on the Second Amendment, and that is my issue. If you cannot be completely uncompromisable on the Second Amendment, I will not vote for you, and I will write somebody else in. We need champions for the Second Amendment, or our rights will be eaten away and eroded each day. I support my decision, and I have no takebacks.
Okay, so he said, I support my decision and no takebacks. And that was they posted at 1 a.m., and 30 minutes ago, he took that back. So I wonder what kind of conversations he had with Trump's team about this. And I wonder if they were just like, no, we got to get this kid on our side, or we got to, like, we can't have them fracturing. We got to talk to this kid, just explain, like, we're going to be pro 2A or whatever. Or if it was kind of like we're going to break your kneecaps kind of conversation. If it was like, we're going to make sure you can't have any speaking engagements, we're going to do this. Or I wonder what kind of conversation it was. Was it more mob boss, or was it like just actually assuring him and alleviating his fears? Because I guess DeSantis pro folks are pointing out some of the stuff that Trump did say about the Second Amendment, but it seemed like a lot of people just really didn't care, and they just want Trump back. So to air these, if it's your issue, it's your issue. It should be everybody's issue. But there's so many things to consider. But the Second Amendment, we should really be strong fighters for. I am concerned, or was concerned, perhaps still a little bit concerned, that if there is some mass event that's really tragic, God forbid, would Trump want to move to make some kind of big historical, compromise with firearms or something and the Second Amendment? And would, obviously, if he did, I think there'd be a lot of Democrats who would take that W, and Trump would push Republicans, and probably enough Republicans to be able to pass something like that. I mean, they worked with Joe Biden to pass something with red flag laws. So you really do need Trump to be strong in the Second Amendment and to not sway to how the press might paint him. And I mean, it's different when stuff happens when you're trying to win re-election, though. So he could be like a really pro-liberty candidate as far as like his lame duck, or he could, throw conservatives on the bus. I don't know. I'm just very curious how their conversations went, because people were mad about this and calling him a traitor and all kinds of different stuff. So him being, I don't know if he was threatened or courted. Let's assume he was courted. Let's assume he was courted to change his mind, and they alleviated his fears. And maybe because he was making noise, they reached out to him and said, hey, Kyle, we see these concerns. We promise, like, we're going to be really my fan just fell. Give me 1 second. I am so sorry. He said, oh no, the fan falling down. I figured I couldn't have that noise in the background the whole time of it, just the turning of the fan. And I don't know if you guys heard it or not, but yeah. So I just turned it off. I'll just have to melt for the hour, but it's okay. It's okay. You'll see a lot of sweat padding, but anyway, let's let's say they alleviated his fears. It makes me oh, heard the crash. Okay. You guys, okay. Anyway, it makes me think about the pro-life folks and how they got railroaded with policy and different changes and stuff. And if they brought in Kyle to alleviate his concerns and his fears about where Trump might go, what he might do, and just say, hey, just look, or whatever. We'll make sure we'll protect the Second Amendment, the stuff that you're saying, that, we hear you. Don't worry, we're going to be a good ally. Is there, if there was some kind of more outrage from evangelicals and pro-life folks, would we get some kind of course correction here from Trump and other politicians if they just knew we had some teeth? That's just kind of my question, because Kyle Rittenhouse is obviously a big figure, and he's a big figure for the Second Amendment, and they're pointing out things that are technically on Trump's record, and of statements that he made that are on video, and something that he actually did do with the banning of the bump stocks. And so if they can say, hey, we'll do better and don't worry, etc., if that, assuming that's the conversation that they had, if there were pro-life folks that were like, you know what, we didn't like the change in the platform, we don't like some of the rhetoric that's going on, we do understand we have to win, but win at what cost, and what is it going to look like when you actually win? If you're just going to move the whole country to the left, it doesn't feel like we're actually having a victory. So, if folks used a bit of their political power here, would they course correct is my question. Because them reaching out and talking to Kyle, somebody, obviously people got a hold of him because they didn't like what was going on here. And he said they talked with members of Trump's team. So I'm assuming it's more than just influencers who are bullying him and mad for a while. I mean, but folks were mad. Someone made this meme, and perhaps this meme worked. They said, okay, Rittenhouse says he's riding in Ron Paul. How can we win him back? Someone said, call him a traitor. Say we should have found him guilty. And then the reasonable guy says, we could demand Trump be more pro Second Amendment. And then they get mad and they throw the guy with the reasonable thing to say out of the window. So those were the memes that started circulating around with the pushback with Kyle Rittenhouse. And Cat Turd, who's a big MAGA influencer, said, I've never in my life, following politics for 40 years, seen a bigger betrayal than Kyle Rittenhouse. The left was trying to put him in prison for life, and MAGA came to the rescue, and so did Trump. Almost every dime of his great defense lawyers and every dime he has in the bank is because of MAGA. We promoted him, financed him, prayed for him, and on. And that arrogant video he made, a slap in the face to everyone who carried him for years. Never seen such delusional, egotistical, out of touch video in my life. I blocked the backstabbing, ungrateful punk. Again, I've never seen a betrayal of this magnitude aimed at the people who literally saved his life. So that's what Cat Turd said. And he's not alone. This was basically the thinking and the arguments folks were making. So Eric July said that Eric July has his like the comic books and all that other stuff. He used to be with the Blaze. Maybe he's still with the Blaze, but he said, y'all gonna make me go back to like doing commentary on like politics and stuff, because he just thought it was so whack how people were coming against Kyle Rittenhouse for his opinion when he's like a one issue person. Not that other issues don't matter to him, but he works for a gun lobbying group with gun rights, and that's what he gets paid for. He was proud of the Second Amendment before. He, defended himself, and that's gonna be part of his life forever. But people feeling like he owes them something, or he owes them gratitude and stuff, but does he owe Trump himself his vote forever, or are people still supposed to earn that? I would think that people are supposed to earn that, and if he didn't earn it, it is what it is. Apparently, they reached out and he changed his mind as of 30 minutes ago. But berating him and calling him a traitor is so strange. It's so strange. And it's how you don't get better politics out of your politicians. If whatever they say goes and you all march to that same beat and you can't criticize them, that's why people say folks are in a cult. Like, you have to be open to different dialogue. Now, you could say he went too far because he actually said he's going to write in someone else's name, and that's basically like giving a vote to Kamala. I mean, it's not basically like giving a vote to Kamala, but it's just not a +1 in his column. You have to convince him to vote for Trump instead of just berating him. Because the issues that he brought up, it's not like they're false. You can't debunk them. All you can do is promise to be better. And that shouldn't be hard. Now, the Republican platform is now basically a pro-choice platform, but we also talked about how they took out a lot of gun-specific, like pro-Second Amendment policy stuff that was in the platform. And people say, oh, it's because Trump's platform is more concise. I don't know about that, because I think there's still there's a lot of bullet points and stuff, but I don't know. I don't know what the word count is on each one, but they're both about the same amount of pages. And all they say is something about the Second Amendment, like not vaguely, but just like briefly something about like defending the Second Amendment. But they took out a lot of specific gun pro stuff. And I wondered if that was because there are certain things that they don't want to say that they'll 100% defend, because they didn't want it to cause some kind of stir with the media and say, oh, how could you say that you're going to defend this when this person just shot up a school? And like, maybe they didn't want to create headlines like that. Like they were trying to avoid headlines by having, a promise for a national abortion ban. They didn't want that to be in the media. They didn't want that to be part of the political landscape. They didn't want that kind of distraction. So they changed the pro-life stuff. And maybe that's why they really condensed and got rid of the specific language on the Second Amendment in the platform. And it kind of sucks. I mean, hopefully they'll come out really strong. And I don't know how they alleviated Kyle's fears, but Kamala Harris is as left wing as the left can go. Maybe not as far as left that they can go, but as left as they have ever been. And she has a lot of content where she has voiced her opinions quite strongly on the Second Amendment, laughing at the idea that, Joe Biden said you can't just do everything via executive order on guns. And she's like, I'm not going to do the imitation today, but I've done it a few times. But she laughed at him and she's like, well, how about we just say, yes, we can, Joe. And she said that she wanted mandatory buybacks, which if it's mandatory, it's confiscation, and other stuff. So if we could just have, it'd be a perfect time to have like, this is what they want. This is what we stand for. We are opposites and our way is obviously better, and it would be cool if we could do that with life issue. Like they're the ones who are really radical. We are the opposite here. And we can't, here's why our side makes sense and theirs doesn't. But on that issue, they're, basically on the same kind of spectrum. Now she's still further. I mentioned that I thought Trump and Biden basically had the same position, but she's as bad as you can get. Because on top of all, I mean, Biden's DOJ did put people in jail, but I know Kamala will be putting people in jail because that's what she did. There was a reporter, David DeLine, when she was back out in California, he, discovered that Planned Parenthood was selling baby body parts. And Kamala Harris, decided to go after him instead of like the organization that's selling the baby body parts. So for, Planned Parenthood, who I'm sure is a major donor and lover of Kamala Harris. So, she's as bad as you can get on some of this stuff, the gender stuff. And Josh Shapiro is probably going to be her VP. And that's still probably her best bet. I'm surprised that he wants to do it, but maybe they feel that it'll really give her a best shot. And maybe it's possible for her to pull off this win because, they're hoping to take, Pennsylvania off the board, and they need to protect states in the Midwest and stuff. But he's got some issues though. And he's really left. I mean, there's some things where he's, can be or was in the past maybe more kind of compromising on, but there's tweets of him saying that trans women are women and stuff like that. So, he's far to the left, and she's going to be the one leading the push to the left. And she's going to be staffing the folks who are ideologues and all this stuff. And it would just be a really good time if we to just have that really good contrast between the progressive liberals, Democrat Party, and like real conservatism. But that's not what we have on the menu. Trump, he's not really a conservative, and he's a populist, and he likes, he say I'm going by common sense and stuff. But he doesn't really have a if I could describe his political worldview, I would say he just doesn't like being ripped off, and he likes winning, and he likes And so he doesn't like being ripped off on trade. He doesn't want to be ripped off on hostage deals. He doesn't want to be ripped off at the border with these people flooding in these countries letting their prisoners and all these folks go, and all these people sending money back to their countries, and us losing the money in our economy and it basically fueling other countries' economy. He doesn't. I think this is a good way to kind of to look at it. He wants to be a winner. As president, he loves America. He wants America to win, and have to. It's like all a big brand deal, he wants to be successful. He wants America to be successful, and for America to be successful and him to be successful, he needs other people to be successful. So he wants to make sure the economy is good and people are safe and all that kind of stuff. So all that stuff is driving his policy and other things like that. But he's decided that in order to win, you need to moderate and hush up on certain things. So I mean, if Kyle wanted to endorse, Ron Paul, it is what it is. I mean, I wasn't too bothered by it myself, and I don't feel like people should have this ownership of him. But Kyle went through something really traumatic, and he was a really impressive guy as far as like how he handled everything, and that he even made it out alive that night, or was there cleaning up graffiti and deciding to like try to protect a store. And then people, just throwing him under the bus after all that kind of stuff. It's incredible what he's been through. But after he won, that didn't mean that everyone needed to like turn him into, some kind of hero or turn him into some kind of huge political figure. He was just a young kid who had this incredible, devastating thing happen to him that he survived. I was really invested in Kyle's success as far as his trial. And I knew a lot of people who were. I covered it quite a bit. Some of my highest live videos, well, not some of my highest live video was dealing with what happened and why that escalated and stuff on Kyle and covering the trial and our articles and stuff about it, the media, how it was just kind of insane, how they had people thinking he had murdered Black people. And it was such a crazy time, but people were concerned about how you could have this case of obvious self-defense. And if he was found guilty, what would that do to the Second Amendment and people who might get in some kind of situation where there's not cameras everywhere? Thank God people had their phones and was taping all kinds of stuff, and there were citizen journalists and stuff. So him surviving that is incredible, but then he went on podcast after podcast after podcast, and that's fine that he did that. But then there was like comments that he'd make that were kind of gross and kind of more rock star, and I just thought this kid needs to take a more humble approach after, he killed people in self-defense, but he still did kill people, and so much of the country is angry and upset. And it just seemed like instead of like taking a victory fist pumping lap, I just thought the kid should have been more, again, humble. And it's fine if he went out there and talked about that stuff, but bragging about girls who wanted to sleep with him and all the other kind of stuff I thought was really gross. Now, I think he did kind of grow up a bit after the rush of that high, but he's responsible for kind of how he is responsible for how he handled stuff when he first came on the scene, but so are the people who uplifted him and made him into kind of like a rock god almost for politics. So, we can all acknowledge that he needed help. It was really important that he won his trial, but again, he's something horrible happened to him, but he himself, that doesn't legitimize him as some grand political figure. So people made him into an icon, and so it bit a lot of people in the butt. But anyway, I guess it's all rolled back. Because he said that he has changed his mind, and he's talked to the Trump folks, and as I said, that was something we just found out together. I don't know if you guys already knew it, but you know, interesting that happened just as soon as I like went to my Twitter feed. It was like a top tweet of somebody. It was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm just going back to his page to see if there was anything else that he tweeted in the past. I guess 30 minutes we've been talking about this whole thing. No, but there's going to be a lot of people who decide to sit out. May announce that they're going to sit out, and I guess maybe no one else who they thought that could really hinder votes. But I wish they weren't just chasing folks who are in the middle, or folk like independents and soft Dems. Like, I wish they would do things to also assure people on the right who feel like the party's gone too far left and have all these fears, just, reach back out to them and let them know that, because my concern is that we're going to be pushed into, like, on the abortion issue, pushed to the point where it's just, is what it is. It just is what it is. And I see that attitude a lot, even with people like saying it's just up to the states. It's I don't like it, but it's up to the states, and I don't like it, but it's just a woman's rights, and that's what the state decided is what it is. And if the state decides it, then that's what the state decided. I'm like, okay, or we could keep fighting. That's an option. When California decided to ban gay marriage, did the left just leave it as is? Did they say, oh, well, I guess the people decided never again shall we speak of it? No. They pushed it and they got it legalized across the country. And now you got these nasty books in the school that you're fighting to get out. And if you mention it, they're like, they're attacking the gays. Like, maybe we just don't want porn in the schools, guys. So they kept pushing. So we have to have more conviction than them. But unfortunately, I think they definitely, on the left, have more conviction than we do. They definitely do. But anyway, moving on, I want to talk about this interesting tweet that Scott Adams tweeted. Now, we know that Trump made some comments the other day about Kamala's ethnicity. And it stirred a bit of a controversy. And I thought that it was interesting. I thought that there are definitely better conversations that we could be having about Kamala Harris, and to get distracted on the race stuff. Like, I don't want whether she's, Indian or black to be like the new birtherism thing, because Trump had to, that happened. Trump made those allegations and stuff prior to his run for office. But that was something that they brought back up, and Trump just dropped it. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you guys remember this, but this was really funny. Trump had a press conference. He said he was going to do a press conference about the birtherism stuff. So he had a press conference, and I think he just like used it mostly for some kind of self-promotion. Maybe it was like something with like veterans, or like all these people coming out and saying all this great stuff about Trump or whatever. And you had all these media who was there to hear about the birtherism stuff, and they're covering Trump's event. And Trump is just using his time to have all these other folks come up and say things about him that are so great. And they're covering him. And at the very end, he's like, okay, by the way, Obama was born in America. Thank you for coming. Basically. And the media was so mad. He played them a couple of times in 2016 like that. But it was really funny. So he just let it be done and abandoned it, after he had pushed it so hard before. But they knew it was a time waster, and that too many people were using it to say that he was racist or whatever, and he just didn't need that kind of noise. So my concern is that with the Kamala being black or Indian thing is that it'll be the wrong kind of noise that the media and people will focus on, and they'll be talking about that instead of people talking about whether or not, you know, she's the border. Well, I guess they're denying she's border czar, but her job on the border, or her signing off for the awful exit of Afghanistan, or, you know, wanting to ban fracking, and her policies, if she has any that she's even announced yet. So after Trump made his comments, there are definitely folks who are leaning in on this a lot. People are going to old articles that people cover with Kamala being the first, you know, Indian senator, and you know, people showing how the press covered that, different interviews where people talk about how she's Indian. The Mindy Kaling, I think is her last name, but she was on The Office. She had the Mindy Project. She did a video with Kamala Harris, and they're cooking, and she's like, "You're Indian. People don't know that you're Indian." And so I don't know what Indian was, but Indian. I think I just mumbled and things came out wrong. But and so there's a lot of content there, with people referring to her as being Indian, but she is, as far as I know, mixed race. Judge Joe Brown is saying that her dad is not actually, he's Jamaican, but he's still not like some kind of African descent Jamaican, and that he's just Indian too, and that she's not really black. And so that's what he's going around saying, and that's what people are sharing on TikTok. I saw that this morning. I was like, or maybe I saw it last night, and I was at somebody, I'm like, is that true? I'm like, so I got to look more into that myself. But that's the kind of stuff that's going around, and so it's becoming a big conversation. And maybe there's method to the madness. Maybe there's method to the madness a little bit. I'm not sure. But I'm trying to find that clip from the other day when they asked him about it. Not sure. Let me these were the kind of memes that are going around. I might get flagged for copyright with this, but Kamala Harris, you know, depending on target audience, you know, because she switches up with the different accents. Now people are mad about this, mad about Trump's comments. Funny, Sunny from The View was so offended, even though she said some racist stuff about Nikki Haley. So Maze here did a good compilation flashback.
Nikki Haley's gone by Nikki since she was a child. It's documented in high school. I wouldn't be shocked that as an Indian woman growing up in South Carolina at that time, she actually did to avoid prejudice. So I just want to be careful about critiquing her for going by names.
There's some of us that can be chameleons and decide not to embrace our ethnicity so that we can pass.
Sunny, I don't think that's fair.
Necessary. You know, I think if she leaned into,
a ton of people don't go by their color. Wait, I'm serious.
I think to question someone's racial identity, especially him, the bar has fallen so low.
Yeah. Nikki Haley.
Sunny is, I don't know who you guys think is the worst on The View, but I think it's Sunny. I don't think it's Joy. I don't think it's Whoopi. I think it's Sunny. I think Sunny is the absolute worst on that show. But yeah, she, you know, came for Nikki Haley as if she was trying to like white pass or whatever. Nikki Haley, that is her name. Nikki is like her middle name, and Haley is the last name that she took when she married her husband. So people like acting like her taking her name, you know, is her hiding her identity, and her criticizing that being guilty of criticizing her and then being mad because Trump's like, I didn't know she was black. She was Indian. I just always knew she was Indian. And then she's suddenly black, as he said. They always complain about what they do, man. Always complain about what they themselves are guilty of. Now, Scott Adams. Oh, let me show you this. Here's an old clip of Don Lemon talking about Kamala Harris and her identity.
Black woman.
Okay, that's fine. I agree with that. I agree with that. But is she African American? No. But is she African American? There's a difference. There's nothing wrong with that. No one is trying to take anything away from her.
Let's go down into her lineage.
I think you're falling. I think you're falling into a trap of that. All she had to do was say, "I am black, but I'm not African American." That's it.
I'm not falling in a trap. I'm not falling in. Let me finish. Hold on. I'm not falling into a trap by that. When she goes down her lineage, many Africans landed in Jamaica and all these other Caribbean islands. So she could indeed
Jamaica's
be
not America.
African American mixed with other races. But she is
Jamaica's not America.
But she is a black woman. She was born here.
Come out of Jim Crow.
Okay, well let's go into Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was born in Canada.
Ted Cruz. This is not
Cuban.
About Ted Cruz. You're changing
the
subject.
But you know what? We cannot. It was hypocrisy. I'm not changing the subject.
Yes, you are.
She's a black woman. I don't know what you want.
Cruz.
Okay, black woman.
So I guess what's interesting here is Trump just trying to take, because again, people could just get distracted with the wrong sort of thing, think it's so high school, and just feel like he's too much of a not adult to go ahead and put him back in office if he's going to be focusing on these things. And then they get distracted and they don't have to make her answer questions. She hasn't done any press conferences and hasn't done any sit down interviews where she's grilled, which no one will grill her, and she'll answer no questions. She can get away with it the whole entire election if she can. But when we focus on foolishness, we get away obviously from substantive stuff that we could be discussing. But it was Trump just really tapping into feelings that people were having anyway, particularly in the Black community, about Kamala Harris, because I heard people saying such things before Trump said it on stage. It's not like he developed it out of the blue. It's really not like he developed it out of the blue. So Scott Adams said Trump used a persuasion technique called entering your illusion. When he questioned Harris's racial identity at the NABJ, and you can already see how well it worked. I've described this technique to my audience over the years. I learned it when training to be a hypnotist. I've used it successfully a number of times. It's a powerful tool. The method involves accepting the illusion you are trying to defeat and showing its absurdity by taking it to its obvious conclusion. Trump accepted the Democrat worldview that identity is the key variable, then casually discussed the incongruity of Harris in terms of her identity. And he did it in front of an audience organized by their identity. This particular persuasion will continue to sink in, to marinate, and to get more powerful over time. The losing party in the situation would have been to argue against using identity to choose candidates. That would be a non-starter. Instead, he entered their illusion and left a huge turd in the middle of their living room. It was one of the best persuasion plays in political history, but it will take some time to see it do its magic. So I found that really fascinating. Again, he is tapping into something that not everyone, but a lot of people were already discussing. Black people were already discussing. So after, I watched the whole interview. I talked to you guys about it. I shared my feelings about it. And there's some people that I knew within the Trump camp that were were around in those circles who were upset at first. And then they kind of calmed down about it and stuff. But I called my sister Sabrina, who's, she follows all the blogs, I'll call them black blogs, black Twitter, hopefully people aren't too offended by saying such things, but I just mean areas where mostly kind of Black people gather or in that sort of algorithm. And I said, well, what are people actually saying about this and reacting to this? And in the shade room and places like that. And by the way, if there's political commentators who are conservative but black and stuff, but they don't know about some of these blogs and they don't know about the Shade Room and haven't heard of the Breakfast Club and all this other kind of stuff, you need to kind of question how tuned in they are with certain stuff. You at least kind of need to know about these things. So she said that there were people who, were like pro Kamala and other kind of stuff and don't like Trump, but there were people who were like, he has a point. She is just now kind of being like known as a black person. Now people are pushing back against that, noting that she went to an HBCU, but folks, you don't have to be black to go to an HBCU. And they're like, well, she was part of the such and such presidency or thing or with over black stuff. And people are pointing to Rachel Dolezal. Like she was part of black organizations and she was white. And, but in my mind, I was thinking, well, Elizabeth Warren was in a Native American cookbook, So he is sowing these seeds, and it is important because this is an important identity marker for folks, especially her being black part. So if he can whittle down against that in people's minds, they focus on identity politics so much. It's their number one thing. The social issues, identity politics, etc. That's how they fight. That's their narrative. They don't have any substantive things to really push because all their policies that they would push are really bad for the country. So it's all about these identity markers and appealing to emotion. So if they start chipping away at this, do they, stop folks from maybe going out and supporting her? Maybe they won't support him. But if they're just, going to stay home and not check the box for her, that's a win. If they depress her turnout because people don't feel that she's actually, authentic, and if they feel that she's kind of a faker. So there's been a lot of interesting conversations. So the Breakfast Club, they had callers call in to talk about this stuff. And so here's a clip from that. And so Free here, he was really pro DeSantis, really anti-Trump in the primary, and still like, I'm not voting for Trump because he feared what would happen to the party, and he wanted MAGA to be done and stuff. But then he was like, I'm against Kamala. Like, I'm over this now. Like, let's pro Trump. He still will criticize him and stuff and his strategy, but he's admitting here, he's like, maybe there's something to this. So I want you to listen to these call-in folks on the Breakfast Club.
We live. Hello, who's this?
Oh, that's Tony.
Hey, Tony, what's up? Get it off your chest, Tony.
Tony. All right, how y'all doing? Charlamagne, Envy, and Jeff.
Good morning.
But I was just listening to y'all with the interview with Trump and yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Man, to be honest, Kamala Harris, she already said that she wasn't black. It's all over everything. She done had interviews. Yeah. I understand. But she already said that she's not black. She identifies as an Indian. But she was running and she did all of that at California. Yes, she has.
No, she hasn't.
Yes, she has.
Listen, have you ever read her book?
No, I don't read. I won't. Say what now?
In her book, she specifically talks about how, her mom definitely instilled her Indian heritage in her, but also told her she was a black woman and raised her to be a proud black woman.
They have an interview. She has a verbal interview with a white woman, and she says that she is not black. She is Indian.
I never heard that in my life.
I never heard that either.
I've never heard that.
Well, y'all might need to. I'm saying, like, when y'all say stuff, though, but look, listen, when y'all say stuff, y'all do your research.
Well, she was up here. She said she was a black woman. She was up here when we spoke to her.
Kamala.
Yeah, because it's convenient for black votes right now. Yeah, of course.
No, she said this back in 2018 when we interviewed her. By the way, why would we not think she's black?
She went to HBCU. She's an AKA.
Okay, you can go to HBCUs and still not be black. I'm a Sigma. We have white Sigmas.
So listen, you don't think Jamaicans are black?
Hello? Do I not think Jamaicans?
If you can be Jamaican and not black, sure.
Jamaicans are black. I'm saying she says she's identified as a black American. She's not a black American. That is what she said. At one point in time, she said she's not a Black American, but now that she's running for president, now she's running from office, and now she's screaming she's Black now.
You got to cite your sources. I've never heard her say she's not a Black American.
Things can be true at one time, so let's figure it out. And then when we can't find it, then you have to apologize.
And Jamaicans are Black, but ask them. That's what I'm saying. Tell them cite his sources. I've never heard her say she's not a Black American.
Jamaicans are absolutely positively Black. Hello, who's this?
Yo, what's good? It's Keith from Brooklyn.
Before we get to Keith from Brooklyn, I don't know what interview this man is talking about either, but he's convinced himself that this exists with Kamala saying that she's not Black. I would think that that'd be a gold mine of information if that was out there somewhere. But I've never heard of such a thing, seen such a thing. I wonder if Charlemagne did actually read Kamala's book. I'm not saying he doesn't read. I just, I'm sure he does. I just wonder if he actually did. But or is that something that he read about that was in the book? But I haven't read it, so I cannot verify. Maybe there's a good bit of information to use as Oppo research in there, but I don't know. I probably won't investigate that further. But let's listen to Keith from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn Yard. Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
What's up?
I love you guys. Yo, all right, yo. So I wanted to talk about that Donald Trump thing last night, man. I ain't even gonna hold you. I was entertained, man. I just like how he just come up in there like, yo, I want all the smoke.
I keep telling y'all, he want
all the smoke.
That's what he wins at. Just because people.
And by the way, with that black job, my bad. Sorry to cut you off, Charlamagne. That whole black job thing that he was talking about, all he was saying, I've been to what he was saying, but all he was saying, oh, they're taking jobs that black people could have. That's all he was saying. And by the way, it wasn't even true because right here in New York City, they're not even allowed to work. Like that's the problem that's going on right now, is that we got to feed and shelter these people, but they're not allowed to work.
Okay.
So that wasn't even true anyway. But what he was trying to say is that
they are trying to fast track them into jobs. If they haven't done that already, they're talking about giving them different government jobs to do different stuff. But anyway,
immigrants are trying to take jobs that black people or white people could get. That's all he was saying.
Okay, thank you.
This is your time to get it off your chest, whether you're mad or blessed.
I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress. Everything with me is blessed.
And one more thing, and I hate to give credit, but you got to give credit where it's due. There's a certain amount of respect that you got to say to give to Donald Trump to know that he was going to walk into the lion's den and be answered in a hostile, not a hostile, but an environment that was less ingratiating to him than his normal environments that he goes to go through. And he did it. A lot of people would have shied away from that. Now, that speaks to the narcissist in him, but there's a certain amount of respect that you got to get him from showing up at all.
I can see that. I also think that he knew that was going to be an opportunity to take away headlines from the vice president.
So, interesting reactions, right? This is one of the most popular radio shows they talk about politics, mostly like music and culture and other stuff. All kinds of folks come in to do interviews on the breakfast show, but interesting reactions from folks. I think it's going to be very hard for Trump to break through to the black woman vote, to chip that away, especially with Kamala there on the ballot. And I don't think he's going to get anywhere majority vote for the black vote, regardless, even if it was Joe Biden. I couldn't see that happening, and folks kind of promising that. Come on. But he has an opportunity with black men because they respect that energy, and that people liked him prior to him running for president. People liked that he was they put him in rap songs. They had rap songs about Donald Trump, people saying they wanted to be like Donald Trump, and people wanted to go to hotels, be on his TV shows and other stuff like that. And he got all kinds of awards, and people wanted his money. People wanted his money. People wanted to hobnob with him. And then he decided to run for Republican. Then he was, evil and one of the most racist men in the world all of a sudden. And so people were told that they had to feel bad about Trump, and dislike him. But at the end of the day, the question is, do you like how things are? Did you like how they were? And if you liked how they were, maybe even if you think he's a bad person, maybe it's kind of worth getting over that and still going back to how things were. But even though you might not like him, you might still go ahead and respect him, and you respect his energy. You respect that masculine energy. I mentioned, I think on Monday, showing different stuff from the Kamala, maybe it was Tuesday. It was, we're talking about the live with the Kamala Harris, with the white dudes for Harris, and they were talking about toxic masculinity, and then like it was basically like a therapy session, and then we showed stuff from like white women for Kamala Harris, and it was just the most absurd kind of stuff that people were saying. And I said that masculinity is really on the ballot here. Like, are you going to have this really effeminate sort of energy that is all focused on like this identity politics and female, like, let me go kill my baby energy, while we can still let these toxic dudes who think they're women dominate because there was a trans person in the women's group? Or are we going to say, like, no, we need some order to society? We need some order back to society, and we need to engage in critical thinking and kind of get rid of this emotional stuff. She's ducking, she's hiding, she's not doing serious interviews. She wants to debate Trump, fine enough, but he has a point that, like, why should I debate you when you could be replaced? Who knows? I think that's fair, but they're gonna have to do it sometime, because like early voting is gonna start real soon, and if the media isn't at any point going to bring up her record, I guess he needs to be the one to do it. I just hope he can do a good job, really hammering into her. But they respect that Trump went there, and Trump mentioned from jump that Kamala Harris was not. He said, you guys brought me here on false pretenses. You guys said that my opponent was going to be here, and they weren't here. And there was stuff that I heard behind the scenes, like they were hostile to Trump to our faces. There was stuff going on behind the scenes that he said something. You guys brought me here on false pretenses. There's more to that, but people are having interesting conversations. This was a argument that was on CNN.
So to answer your question as it relates to that, we all know when, Vice President Kamala Harris ran for, Attorney General, and you can fact check me on this. News outlets said she's the first Indian American. She did run as Indian American. Okay. And then she was chosen for the vice president nominee as the candidate for Joe Biden. And he was told that you will get a black woman. So then she says, well, here is a black woman. So in all fairness, when she asked that question to President Trump, that's a valid, answer, because that's based on her, where she was in her life, what she chose to be at that time. So that's where that answer comes in. So she's the one that did this. She's the one.
Hold on 1 second. I want to just make clear. I know we're on this panel.
But am I lying?
Excuse me, sir. Do not overtalk me. No. I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak. Excuse me. Do not overtalk me on my program. I am trying to give. That's why, if you would allow me to speak, I would clarify the opportunities for each of you on the panel to have a chance to speak and have your own point heard to an audience who's eager and speaking with bated breath to hear your opinion. But you cannot talk over each other. I want everyone to hear. So when you hear this voice or this ding, ding, ding of the Laura code sound, please stop. Van, let me go.
So, by the way, why do you got Omarosa up there? That is Omarosa, right? Like, it's so funny. They hated her guts when she was pro-Trump. And then she left, and he started talking about her. And he's like, oh my gosh, Trump said such mean things about Omarosa, who's a bona fide TV villain. And that's why she's famous, because she's evil. If you've never seen like Celebrity Apprentice, when she was on there, which she had a really hard time raising money, so I don't besides her being a famous TV villain, she really couldn't dominate and compete. But Piers Morgan was on the show, and at that point in time, that was the first time I had ever seen Piers Morgan, and she said such terrible things about him. He's like, someone else is raising your children. What do they say about you? What does it say about you? Just really going after him and his kids. And he just wanted to like personally destroy her, like demolish her on the show. And he ended up winning. He was the first Celebrity Apprentice, right? And I think did he come in second? I think he won. Cause like was it him versus cowboy guy? Where's my sister? She's not in the chat today. We watched so much Apprentice together. Trace Atkins. But I think Trace did win, but I can't. Did he come back to win? Because I'm pretty sure Piers won. So maybe Trace came in second. You just said he won. So Piers did win, but didn't Trace win? Did he come back to win? Or is he Anyway, Piers, she said such terrible things to Piers. Now, after Piers had his show on CNN, I was like, man, this guy sucks. Trace came back to win. Okay. Thank you. Katrina. But yeah, she's known for being evil. And it's amazing when they'll bring you back on TV to legitimize you when you got something negative to say about Trump, when you have these feelings. But if you're a black dude, do you really want you got this this kind of energy that's coming from her and even the CNN host. This man's just like kind of calmly talking and like, will you not talk over me, sir? Is that the kind of energy you want like prevailing here? Or do you just kind of want some like rational kind of like, here's the facts, like, here's what it is. It's true that, if you go look, that's how they portray her. If that's what he thought about her, that's how the media portrayed her. That's a good, yeah. Omarosa literally went on a reality show called House of Villains. Yeah. And by the way, she like left the White House and then she went on Big Brother like immediately. Like she had deals and stuff in place when all that stuff was going down. So, Omarosa is for Omarosa. Now, Trump like being fascinated with her and keeping her around and wanting her to like have a job in the administration, and that's on him. He does not always, in fact, pick the best people. But they just want to legitimize her because she hates his guts now. That's why they want to legitimize her. Scott Adams also noted that Trump really did, with his opening statement, he really shifted the focus. And I saw a clip of him talking about it earlier, but maybe someone else posted the clip. I'm trying to find it on his timeline. I'll just have to paraphrase. But he talks about like at the beginning, the first question opened up. There's a list of grievances that they have. You said this person that was black was a loser. You said this person was an animal, or you said and rabid, and you dined with white supremacists at Mar-a-Lago, and you did this and you said this. And so Scott Adams said, watching that, he's like, how would you get out of that question? How would you get out of that question? Because he said, if you addressed like any of the specific things, then she could just move on to a different thing in the list. Like if he tried to explain the Nick Fuentes situation, which I don't know how you really explain that other than throwing your own people under the bus for allowing them to come and whatever. There's still that, well, you said all this other stuff. So he would just get caught up defending this list, and it just wouldn't be good. So instead of getting caught in like answering that question, I mean, the question was, well, first was the accusation, how they framed it. And it was like, you did all these bad things. Why should black people trust you? Why should black people vote for you? And he did answer, like, I did all these positive things for the Black community. So that was the answer. So people are like, Trump didn't answer people's questions. He did answer questions. You're just not listening. You just didn't like how he answered them, but he did answer the question. But what he did, what was so impressive, according to Scott Adams, and it was impressive, is that he just turned it around and just started attacking her. Like, you always are on offense. And if you're defending, you're losing. If you're explaining, you're losing. And he's just went into, that was such a horrible question. And it wasn't just that he complained about the question, because people can hear her and hear the tone, see her body language, and know that she has an opportunity to interview someone who is a former president, who's likely to be president again. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But there's some kind of level of professionalism that you obviously should bring to the table here. But she was all up in her feelings when she started the question. And so he just turns it around, points out the obvious, that she's being purposely nasty to him. And not only that, he starts spilling the tea. He starts spilling the tea about how they were incompetent with their equipment, that they held him up for 35 minutes. You held up the former president of the United States for 35 minutes, didn't have your own stuff together, and they still had issues or whatever with the mics, which was apparent throughout the thing. And he's like, no, hello, how are you doing? You just come on all hostile. You lured me here with false pretenses. Where's Kamala Harris? You guys said that we had to be here, and my opponent's not here. And now you're talking about that maybe you'll set up a Zoom call with her. I couldn't do a Zoom. And Trump just totally shifted it back on her. And if you listen to the audience, I'm sure people were like aghast and upset about it and shocked. But you heard like laughter, and there were folks that were definitely with him. But whether Scott Adams said whether men in the audience, Black men in the audience, or Black men watching it, he's like, maybe they won't admit that they enjoyed him. But there's probably a lot that enjoyed him, because at the end of the day, he put her in her place, and he handled her and was combative with her. And people were like, oh, well, he said this with a Black woman and he treated her all right. He didn't treat her any differently than he would treat anyone else. And that's actual respect. If you would treat someone differently based on the color of their skin, you're the one who's racist, honey. But you can go watch interviews what he had with her, with that panel, or you can go watch interviews he's had with like white women on CNN. Caitlin Collins, other folks like that. He's just, he will match your energy, and then he will absorb it and give it back. Like Sebastian Stan or something. Like he will. Shaw. Is Shaw? Like Sebastian Stan is the actor. Think about the X-Men guy. Who absorbs and then who's on the Hellfire Club. Anyway, that's what Trump will do. You come at him, Shaw. Thank you, Katrina. So Scott Adams, in his commentary, he did call the woman a B, that she was acting like a B word, and he said it a couple times, and people could see that. Now, I didn't really want to play him like using that language over and over again, but that was his commentary. But you again, people could see that she was hostile and wasn't respectful. And people respect, you heard from the Breakfast Club, those people say that they respected that he went in there, the lion's den, he knew it would be hostile, but he still showed up. And Trump made sure that you knew that he showed up, but Kamala Harris didn't. Kamala Harris wouldn't. She was too afraid. She dodged, whatever. And at the end of the day, she should have been there, and they're still trying to cater to her and do a Zoom call. Why can't she come and sit down in front of them and have a conversation? Maybe she will, but he just let it be known that there was a double standard, and he still was man enough to show up. So do you want this like masculine energy to kind of be like back over the country, or do you want this whiny, I'm empowered because I say so kind of energy to be over the country? That whiny that whiny female energy. Now, not all women are like that. Like I'm not into the Kamala Harris stuff. I'm not into their side on the left. I, you know, like critical thinking and looking at the issues and all sorts of stuff. I don't have those sort of emotional response. And men can be emotional too. Obviously, we went through the Kyle Rittenhouse story earlier and read some tweets from some very emotional, white dudes who were very upset. So I don't want to make it seem like only women are the emotional animals, but I think you guys are intelligent enough to kind of know what I'm trying to say as far as just the kind of mindsets and energy and stuff that's going on. So I mean, the women, they at one point are like, JD Vance talked about women, cat ladies and stuff, and I'm 30 and plus and I don't have kids, and he's saying mean things about me. And Trump is just like, he's just pro family, like and he was pretty, even like he didn't raise his voice. And Joe Biden, he's rattled. He'll yell, he'll get in people's face, he might threaten folks. He said something about Mike Johnson the other day, because Biden, I think it was with his Supreme Court reform stuff, and Mike Johnson said it was dead on arrival. And then they asked Joe Biden about Mike Johnson saying it's dead on arrival because they control the House. And then Biden is like, he's dead on arrival. And they're like, what? And he's like, he's dead on arrival. and it's like, Trump was shot not too long ago. I don't think it's great that you're out here saying that the speaker is dead on arrival, and you repeat that after everyone obviously knows that that was a bad thing to say. Let me see if I can find that really quick. It just came to me again.
Speaker Johnson said it's dead on arrival. And he is? How are you going to get this vote? How are you? Speaker.
So you can't really hear it very well, but yeah, because of the airplane and stuff. But yeah, he repeated it. He's dead on arrival. Wild stuff. Oh, I just got a I think it's a sticker there. Thank you very much to Beauty Brat 90. That's Sabrina. Thank you. That's my well, I don't know if she wanted to be outed, but that's my sister. Thank you. And thank you for all your research on the Shade Room. She probably heard I was talking about Breakfast Club in the Shade Room, and she had to pop in. She said, you're welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you guys who watch live. Thank you to everyone who watches back. And thank you to everyone for your super chats and so on. But I think Trump, I don't know. So when I had shared with my in the group chat earlier about Scott Adams' evaluation of Trump and his persuasion techniques, like, do you think he did it on purpose? And I'm like, that I don't know. I don't know if Scott thinks that Trump is doing it on purpose, but he said from the very beginning that Trump had just like, he knew he was going to win in 2016 when they were first on the debate stage, because he just had enormous persuasion skills, and maybe some of them are just so natural. But like when he compared Trump's opening with the woman and taught at this National Association of Black Journalists event with when he was first on the debate stage, and they're like, Donald Trump, Megyn Kelly was asking the questions, and she's like, you've called women this and this and fat pigs, and he's like, only Rosie O'Donnell. And then the crowd laughed, and she's just kind of like, no, it's more than Rosie O'Donnell. And now at the time I didn't really like that myself, because I thought, and I was like really gung-ho at first. I'm like, I love The Apprentice and stuff. And I have, I guess I have two of his books. I have Art of the Deal, and I have Midas Touch, that he like co-wrote that book. And at the time, my thinking was, you've hired a ton of women yourself. You put women in leadership positions. You obviously have a very educated daughter who's very talented, and he could have just took that answer and just like flipped it and just, used it as an opportunity to really brag. But he did the, only Rosie O'Donnell thing. But Scott Adams loved that answer. And he said, basically, he just, they're coming at him so hard with all this stuff. And he just refocused everyone and then got a laugh out of people. A lot of people didn't like it, but certainly enough people liked him for him to get a plurality of the vote and then win, the nomination, then ultimately the presidency. So, he definitely makes bad decisions at times and puts his foot in his mouth, but there is sometimes a stroke of genius in his actions, and I don't know yet if this is one of those times or not. Like I think the interview, I think how he handled the beginning question and reshaped it all was good, and Scott said that was one of the best things he'd ever seen in politics, really. How Trump just flipped that around. But as far as like the Kamala, like being is she black, is she Indian thing, we'll see how much that pays off or if it doesn't pay off. They are focusing on other things, like JD Vance was asked about it, and they said you're married to a woman of color, your kids are mixed. How did you feel about that? Were you offended? And he's like, no, Trump's just saying she's a chameleon and she's fake and she changes up everything wherever she goes. She's in Georgia doing a Georgia accent. She's a California person who like grew up in Canada. She doesn't have a Georgia accent, so she's just fake. So he handled like those questions very well. So they'll talk about more policy things, I'm sure, but if this starts breaking down the black women alone can't carry Kamala. They can't do it alone. If they can just break through some black men, enough black men. Now Trump has to still keep other age groups. Like Kamala does better with young people than Biden did with young people, but she doesn't do as well with older people than Biden did with older people. So there's pros and cons for when she got into the race herself. And so the demographics are shifting a little bit as far as the support and who has advantage in different places. But as far as the black vote, I don't think Trump's going to win that. And it's going to take time if the Republican Party can never really win that back. But there could be enough black men, and I don't know how vocal they'll be about it, but they don't like that hot attitude. And they don't like it. And if they see it as hostile for no purpose and someone stands up to it, they're like, yeah, good. They deserve to be told off or put in their place. So he just has a door open there. And as far as her background, I don't know if they should push it too much unless they know something that we don't know. Unless maybe they do, because they pushed that Fonnie Willis stuff and they knew that stuff with Fonnie Willis, man. They were ready to go. Sabotage her. So I hope there's a ultimate plan and this isn't all instinct. But it could all crash and burn, but maybe not. Maybe not. We'll see. As Scott Adams said, he thinks it's a really effective tool, but it'll take time to ease in. But people are having these conversations. I don't necessarily think that Trump really should repeat and really have these conversations himself. Like, I think he should focus on other things. There's enough people having them in the underbellies of the internet. But we'll see. We'll see. My sister said straight black men are consistently being overlooked by the Democrat Party unless there is a shooting. That is legit. That is for real. Black men are definitely being overlooked. Like, even if you went to like I don't even want to say when there's a shooting, because like even if you went to BLM's website, they make it known that if you are a cis black male, that you are not the priority there. Like you have to be trans or something for them to care about you. So black men are like, Trump talks about the forgotten man, and he did really well in 2016 because he spoke to that audience. And one of the reasons why he wanted JD Vance is because he feels that JD Vance speaks to that audience of the forgotten man. So he's doubling down on that demographic that he really spoke to. But the black man is also a forgotten man, I would say. And I don't think Kamala Harris speaks to that. The only thing, she might speak to the deadbeat dad who wants to abort his children. Maybe that's attractive to somebody. But I think the masculine men who care about their families, they're not into this stuff. They don't want their kids to race against men or be beaten up by men in not in locker rooms, but like in the ring, if they should ever box one day. You know, they're not into this weird stuff. They don't want these weird books in their school. They want to make sure their kids are educated and just learning math and science and reading all that stuff and not have to read about transitions and all. They're not into this stuff. They just want the world to make sense and to have some money in their pocket. Kamala Harris can't offer that to them. So Trump just has to really make the case. In many ways, it's his election to lose. Someone said Kyle just proved he's part of an ignorant generation that was a single issues only. Very disappointed in that young man. Well, to be honest, if there was an issue to be a single issue voter on, the Second Amendment is a big one, because you can really see how society really starts collapsing if you don't have that in place, or you know, how liberties could really start going away if you don't have that in place. I mean, I think abortion is important enough to be a single issue voter too, but I don't fault people for voting for a third party if that's what they want to do. I mean, I think it's just, you have to convince people to go ahead and vote for the candidate. You just have to make that case. But him, whatever he said and did, got him some kind of audience with Trump folks, and they assured him. So squeaky wheel gets the grease, does it not? So Kyle, I don't know, Cruella DeVille here. I don't know if you saw that Kyle already backpedaled. He said he's going to support Trump. So they reached out to him, and he's already, like, you know, reneged on that stuff. So that happened about an hour ago. It's his pinned tweet on X. So it's okay to voice your grievances, especially if it's going to, because at this point they want to win, right? They want the votes. So they got, if they think that you can disrupt that, they're gonna reach out and cut some kind of deal. So I don't think it's wrong for people to exercise to make their voices heard for what they want. And in Kyle's case, I don't know, again, if they were like, we're gonna break your kneecaps, or if they were like, look, we know why you had concerns, but Trump is going to be like a friend of the Second Amendment. We're gonna do this and that and blah blah blah. You know, I don't know how the conversation really went down, but for whatever reason, he already changed his mind. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, you guys can leave a donation on the website, or if you're watching back later, you guys can do like stars on Facebook, or stickers and super thanks and stuff. But the best way to donate is to just go directly to the website. You guys can check out different merch that we have available at the website, like Be Better But Not Bitter, or I'm Not the Victim You're Looking For t-shirt. I have different books that I've written. I have 18 published altogether. 2 are nonfiction. One of them is Slay Your Fear, How to Overcome a Spirit of Fear. And another one is, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion, that is available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon, paperback, ebook. Most of my books are on Kindle Unlimited too. The nonfiction stuff are not, but I got lots of books you guys can read and check out. It's the weekend. What are you guys doing this weekend? I'm going to church, but like, if you need something to read, there's plenty of things that you guys can read if you're interested in any of my work. So anyway, thank you guys. I hope you have a great weekend. I'm about to go enjoy myself at church. Got a lot to be thankful for and praise God for. So that'll be my weekend. And we got our women's Bible study tomorrow too, and then Sunday service. So I will literally be doing church stuff all weekend, and that's how I like it. This someone had a TikTok kind of mocking like Christians, like since I don't do this ever since I left Christianity, now I'm not forced to go to church, all once a week or twice a week or whatever. And someone replied and they're like, do you not think that Christians just kind of want to go? I mean, maybe if they're a kid or something, maybe you make them go, but most like adults, if they go to church, they kind of want to go. So I enjoy my church. So anyway, I know we had a new viewer thank you guys for watching. Someone said it was the first time kind of checking out my channel. Thank you for subscribing. And if you guys are subscribed, make sure that you also hit the notification bell. Yeah, it's this per Kayla. Thank you very much for checking me out. I'm glad you subscribed. Check out that video that I did debunking the top 10 Trump hoaxes. Share that around. God bless you guys, and I will see you on Monday.